Morning, everyone, and I hope we are live. And welcome to TOSB Conversations. I'm Danish, your moderator today. Winters have started in Delhi, but it's time to have good conversations, and that is the place we bring TOSB Conversations. So, TOSB Conversation is a platform that brings perspectives from leading experts across diverse fields on the ideas that are shaping our world today. Brought to you by the Outstanding Speakers Bureau, a service which works with hundreds of aspiring minds from across the globe to deliver experiential knowledge and cutting-edge insights for businesses. And our topic today is Live Stress-Free in an Energy Bubble. And our guest today is Sandeep Nath. So a bit about Sandeep. Sandeep is best defined as an inner power coach, running interventions that results in people rising to and sustaining their higher potential. He's a master in establishing the link between health, purpose, productivity, and the energy which is required of a leader. He has worked with thousands of individuals from across 4 continents and has conducted workshops at over 25 nationally reputed centers. On the personal front, Sandeep and his wife are avid travelers and Tibetan Buddhists. So, Sandeep, thank you very much for joining us. If you can switch on your video.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. So,
thank you,
Sandeep, lovely. So, we have people have joined in, and it's time to start this conversation. When we were talking about it, right? The first question when we figured out, okay, we have Sandeep today with us. The thought is when we say, have to live in an energy bubble, and that's the second part. The first word which is there in front of us perpetually is stress. And you speak to a young child, you speak to an adult, or you speak to somebody who's crossed 50, 60. And we'd all talk about stress and what happens, your stomach aches, your pain in the shoulder, which I've gone through personally. So I want to talk about that also during the conversation. But what is stress? And there are multiple theories. If you just Google the word stress, it just comes up and you don't know what to believe and what not to believe. So your take on it.
That's a great starting point, Danish. Thank you so much for having me on this conversation. And yes, there are a lot of theories, like you said, about stress and whether it's good for us, whether it's not good for us. And, to the extent that I have known a certain management guru who says that stress is critical for productivity. It's like if a horse is under stress, then they perform. Otherwise, they just jackasses, And I beg to differ because we are human beings. We are not horses or jackasses. And unfortunately, the way our social conditioning and our education system has gone, it's added to that stress which we impose on animals without realizing that we are capable of much higher stuff. Our consciousness is different. But that's a completely different subject. In fact, I wrote a book on that called Renewal, which is about the renewal of human consciousness. When you talk about stress, so we're talking about being human. And, there are two types of stress that you can basically divide stress into. One is good stress, that is eustress, and the other is distress. Okay, so you're distressed. That's what weighs you down, it pulls you down. Now, what is eustress? Eustress is, simply put, stuff that would be voluntary. Like you would want to play a game, or you would want to solve a crossword puzzle. So that's physical stress, mental stress. But you're taking it for a short period. You know what you're doing with it, and the outcomes are reasonably certain. Now, distress is what captures us both physically, mentally, as well as energetically in a situation where we are not prepared for it. So it is, in that sense, involuntary. It used to happen when the elephant suddenly came in front of our caves, and that was stressful. But now you see these elephants are coming to us with other people's opinions. They're coming to us all the time. And if you don't get enough likes on Facebook, that's distress. So stress is the distress, the bad stress is so integral to our life that we are stressed without having the adequate coping mechanisms. And that's what leads to all the lifestyle disorders. That's what leads to disease. That's what leads to illness. But when we understand that, eustress is something that we can do voluntarily and build up our capabilities, it's like when you go for a walk. Now, walking would be a form of stress. You talked about websites. Now, the authoritative website would be stress.org. So that defines stress as a condition where the demands exceed the resources. So when the demands of anything, be it mental or physical or any other form, emotional, when those demands are high and your resources are low, you feel stressed. So you build up your resources. Let's say you take a walk, that builds you up. But then again, what do you walk through? So, if you're walking on the street, it's fine. But if you're walking in water, then that could be stressful. You would have to hold your breath, you would have to wade through. There is more demands there, right? And if you have to, let's say, walk through a wall, that is extremely stressful, right? Because you would have to actually claw through it and you know what I mean? You actually start with the limiting belief that I can't do it, right? It starts from there. I mean, who's talking about walking through walls? But it's walk nevertheless. Now, here's where I'd like us all to understand who we are, who's doing this walking. And I have something. This is who we are. You see this?
Yeah, onion.
Absolutely. And this has all these layers, you see?
Yeah.
These are the layers that are around us that we're walking through. And if we understand that each of these layers imposes its own levels of stress, which we are clawing through, we will get a perfect understanding of what stress is about. So having said that, I love whiteboards, I love flip charts, and I want to bring on mine.
Okay,
right?
Lovely. Yeah, nice.
Great. So let me take you through a few things that are stressful. Okay, the distress. And the first of them is where we've got this feeling that things are out of control, that, there is too much happening, or there are too many people taking too many decisions, and, we want to buy a car, and we want to buy a house, and we want to plan our future for the next 3 years, 30 years, whatever it is. And that's what I would classify as possessions, because it is kind of physical, and it is kind of what we seek to do or have. Even an opinion is a possession, right? So when we get stressed with other people's opinions, that too, we possess that opinion. And that is one of the first layers of stress. Let's look at another one. Projections. Now, what we project, which may not be true, we may project our fears, we may project our emotions. This is going a little from the physical to the mental side. That's what gets us in a position where we create the circumstances where our resources are smaller. We may project a fear of a dog, for example, onto a story that when we were at a particular restaurant and we were going out, then suddenly the dog, which just came out from nowhere and barked at us, it actually ran towards us. And when it ran towards me, you tell your spouse, that time you were not doing anything, you were just standing by the side of the car. And that could bring about relationship stress, because it becomes an argument, because you tend to pull that out much later, because you projected it and you have bound yourself with that story. So that kind of projection could be stress today, could continue to be stress way out in the future. And then there are perspectives. This is getting even more subtle now. So from the physical layers to the mental layers to perspectives. For example, if I draw a 6 between you and me, you would see it as a 9. And the two of us could be quite stressed about, why isn't he getting my point of view?
Well, that happens a lot, Sandeep. A lot of times, yeah.
And that's all it is. It is just a perspective. If I come around to your side of the table, and probably, oh yeah, it does look like a 9. Now let's see. You are let's say a landlord and I'm a tenant. And the COVID crisis is bringing out different circumstances. And if I can come around to your side and see it's the landlord, maybe we can have a solution which is not going to put me in debt and is not going to put you in misery either. But do we come around to see those perspectives? Often not. Now, as we keep going through this onion, there are more layers. But fortunately, there is another layer which is extremely stressful, set of priorities. Because often we don't get them right. And every time we don't get a priority right, we have to make a decision on whatever we have to do. Let's say we have stress about picking up the kids. And that's the same time when we've got to attend an engagement party. And then you don't want the kids to have a maid pick them up. And your spouse doesn't want to miss the engagement party. And there's a general drama evolving, Once you set priorities in stone that kids are more important than parties, then there are no further decisions. And you can save a lot of time not having to make those decisions. So this is a layer where you can start resetting your relationship with stress. And then a very, very big layer is that of purpose. So when we don't know what we're out to do, we're hugely stressed. In fact, like you were saying, you wake up with aches, pains, tiredness, and stuff like that. You will notice that the day you've got something to do, you would jump out of bed. And, you've got that assignment to finish, or you've got that interview to take, or you've got something that the party that you've got to ready everything for. Then you're brushing your teeth, having your breakfast, and out you go, You have purpose, and so all those aches and pains disappear. Stress is healed in a sense. But without purpose, I would say that stress is the biggest bottleneck that we create. The lack of purpose is the biggest bottleneck we create to getting out of stress.
Right.
So this is where we're getting really, really close to who we are, and we're back to being the onion. But right inside, at the center of the onion, where's my onion? Right at the center here is power. This is what we're about. And that's what I call inner power. And, working with your inner power is a way of beating stress. Because when you're communing with your inner power, you have a mechanism to get all these layers totally out of the way.
So,
yes. Because I just thought that before I go deeper into more stuff, let me just explain a little concept here, which is that of PEP, which is the PEP formula, and this is what PEP would stand for. This is what the construct of inner power is. Your inner power, like I said, priorities and purpose can be layers that you work against or layers that can work with you, provided you have energy. So when you have these three together, that's what builds your inner power up. And with that, you can come across. Sorry.
Right. So our topic is also, about inner energy and the bubble which we're talking of. So when you're saying that you have this inner energy in you, how do you harness it and make it your bubble? Because all the things which you mentioned about the 6 P's, I've written it down. So possessions, projection, perspective, priorities, purpose, power, right? Now, and this is the onion which we are. And you're talking about the power within us. But harnessing it's a difficult task. And I know I can speak on behalf of a lot of people that it doesn't come easy. And in that situation, what do we do?
It doesn't come easy. You are so right from your experience. Now, there was this story of this fly, which was, attempting to go through the window. We've seen that happening so many times. And it was a battle of life and death. Now, this fly knew, because it was scientifically minded, that this Glass is just 5 mm and its body is more than 5. So if somehow it can just get through at any one point of weakness, it will go through. It also knew that every time it bangs its head against the glass heats up a little. And if it can just heat it enough to melt, it'll fly out. It is working through those layers. It is working through that one tiny layer that it knows for sure it's got a solution for. But it doesn't realize that just if it moves a meter on the side, not straight in where it can see where it wants to go, but move to the side, there is an open panel in the window, and it can go through the open panel and out it is where it has to be. Back to our onion. The inner power is right there in the center here. Okay, when you peel out everything, that's what you're left with. And this is your universe around it, right? All of this. You want to connect with your universe, and you're right in here. Now, instead of cutting through that wall, if you just come out here and connect out, you've taken a little movement, a little step in the side, a meter on the side, and got out. Outside is where your energy bubble is. It's all around us. You know, if I look at it from a Buddhist perspective, what's inside, ultimately there's nothing. What's outside, there's nothing. Nothing means nothing, you know. But in fact, this is something that I'd like to share with you. It's from the concept, the ancient oriental wisdom concept of our auras, of our life force. So our life force is a kind of field around us. And in ancient times, we believed that we are just a pipe. We are connected to the heaven and the universe and the earth, the ground. And if we have our connection with the heaven, ground perfect, we are stress-free, we are performing optimally, we are in oneness, we are in divine spiritual connection. That is the way of nature, that's the Tao. And a lot has been said about this in ancient scriptures and practice. But if you look at it scientifically, then again, if you go right inside the onion, what you have are atoms, right? And there would be atoms of air, outside also are atoms of air. Everywhere around here, we've got atoms. And if I can connect you now, all of you, and Danesh, I'm so happy to speak on behalf of the audience because I'd like to involve all of your viewers in a little exercise where you would see that you can actually connect with these atoms. You can actually go around all the stress layers and into making the connection so that between you and the connection with the universe, these layers, they don't become troublesome anymore. You're not attached to the idea of pounding through. You are comfortable with the idea that they exist and I still have a larger purpose, which allows me to go around them, acknowledge them, and work in spite of those possessions, in spite of those projections and all of that. So let's do this exercise. I'd like you all to step back, step a little away from your computer or phone or wherever you are, and keep your hands free.
Okay.
And, let's say you are on the mountainside of the Himalayas and there's snow all over. So what you would do is, if you just move your hands in the mountain face like that and do this, you probably collect some snow, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. Just do this with me, lightly. There's no brain involved, no logic involved. Just move your hands.
So just a physical activity.
Just a physical activity, just what you see me doing. And slowly bring your hands together in the form of a clap. You hear the clap? Lightly.
Yeah.
And then continue to bring your hands together and stop clapping. So there you are. And now take your attention between your palms. In between your fingers, sense your fingertips. Get aware of any sense that you feel here. It could be a tingling, it could be a sense of warmth, it could be attraction or repulsion, or like you're pressing into something. This works really well, by the way, in the midst of nature. So if you're in front of a tree, or if you're in a garden, or even if you're in your balcony, you would probably sense the universal energy around. And with a little practice, like I have a little practice, so I can already sense a ball. Now I can't, with my intuitive mind, press this ball anymore. With my logical mind, I could probably still muscle my way through. But here it is, and this ball is expanding. It's getting bigger and bigger. And this could be happening to you, or you could just feel a little stretchiness, a little rubber bandiness, or something like that. But what you're doing is pretty similar to what you would have done with snow. You make a snowball out of it. And here you made an energy ball out of it. And just like this energy ball is in between your palms now, and you could actually release it, I would release it into my navel area. Bam! That's the energy center. That's our battery, so to say. It's a good biohack, it's a quick shot. So if you practice a little, you get to make this ball, and then you can give yourself a shot, and you would feel better, feel more joyous instantly. And so that's how that goes. Now, is my video frozen?
I think so, but I can hear you clearly. So probably it's just the network issue. But you could speak. I think you could just come up.
Okay. Were you able to see the making of the ball? That's what.
No, absolutely. I could. No. Okay, you're back again. I can see you. I could see the exercise also. Yeah.
Awesome. So when we experience energy that way, then we've got this sensory impulse that, yes, I know I'm connected. It's like if you bought a house and you don't know whether the builders provided electricity, you switch a light on, you get a sensory impulse, and all right, it's all connected to the substation and the fuse box and everything's fine. Likewise, when you go to a garden, you do this and you get this sense, this feeling of having a connection with energy. You start on a journey where you can actually make a bubble all around you. And you don't make the bubble like this, you make the bubble by bringing your inner power out and connecting up and down and all around. That's how you do it. And that's how you circumvent the layers. Yeah, go on.
Right. So at this note, that's a great exercise. I could feel the little ball which I could create out of energy.
Awesome. That's fast.
Yeah. So for the people who are listening to us and part of our conversation, you can ask questions to Sandeep. Sandeep is open to taking as many questions as possible. Stick to the relevant subject, most important. Talking about things which are not relevant to the subject, we'll discuss that offline. But Sandeep, we have a first question right now. This is from Reem. She's asking that how do we meditate stress for people in poverty, people with special abilities, people from the LGBT community? These are all people at different margins.
So how do we meditate?
Yeah. How do we meditate when people are in distress and they are on the margins already? Because there is stress which we create for ourselves, and there is stress which is the society has given to them for no fault of theirs. Right. So poverty is something which has happened. LGBT community is there. So, and people with special abilities. Now that's another part of it. What about them?
Well, so this is coming from a very pure space. Since you asked that question, I can make out that you stand in a space which is extremely compassionate. And when you want to do something meditatively, it's like, it's not you doing it. It's like you connecting with the universal energy. And there are various means of doing that. Reiki is a practice, which is Reiki is Japanese for Rei meaning universal and Ki meaning life force energy. So the universal life force energy, it exists all around us. And you invoke that to go to you set an intent to go to the groups, the people who you feel would get less stressed, and they will feel it. It's a mechanism of healing, spiritual healing, universal healing. And if you'd like to understand more about Reiki, then I have my website here, sandeepnath.com/events. You could read more about that there. So because I keep doing these Reiki workshops, and you'll find an event. So that's one way. The second way is if you interact with them, then you're able to communicate with them and even teach them how to focus on the present, because a lot of these stresses are coming from our projections. And when when we're projecting a social interaction in an LGBT community, for example, that with the non-LGBT community, it's basically a projection of how they would say this, and this would happen, that would happen. But all those projections come stilled down when you are in the present. If you're not in the past or in the future, but in the present, that's the way of taking the right move, doing the right action to change the future. So how do you get in the present? Meditatively. There's only one thing that you cannot do in the past or the future, and that is breathe. You can breathe only here and now. So by getting focused on your breathing and teaching them how to breathe meditatively, they would prepare themselves for not being stressed in the future. And that is something that they can bring on. Anytime there is the feeling of stress, they bring that feeling on. They bring that exercise on of a few breaths, 3 breaths, and get for the interval. I hope that helped.
Right. Sandeep, this is when you were talking about the rush which we get on social media platforms, and I'm not talking about one social media, multiple social media. And when you stay in a metropolitan city, this is something which people are on it, and that's a good way, right? I mean, just to completely say that do not be on social media, do not read, that's I do not agree with it personally. But that feeling that what if I've put a picture and I haven't got a like on it? That anxiety, the anxiety which rises, sometimes you can ignore it, but sometimes, and I'm talking when I interact with people who are, from adolescents hitting their first 21, 22 and all, that's the time this anxiety is increasing. And there are multiple examples which I've seen, especially there was a report which I read about TikTok, right? There was a person who was not getting it, and that person committed suicide. Now that's a dangerous space to be in.
Yes.
Because on the face of it, all your pictures are happy pictures. You're smiling, you're pouting. But what's happening behind the picture? That's something which I feel is very, very edgy. So how do you deal with it? Are there any exercises like breathing exercises which you mentioned, or a process or a framework which can help people?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And to add to what you were saying, I would urge everybody to also watch a film called The Social Dilemma on Netflix. They released it in September, and it's a documentary about how this animal, the social media, that beast, has gone out of control, and how a like, for example, which was invented, conceived to spread positivity, is now a cause of depression and, like you said, suicide, rising suicide among teenage girls. Now, what we've got to teach ourselves and our children is the concept of detachment. That is, you can break it up into practices, but understanding it conceptually is like this. You possess the possession does not possess you. So it's your post, it's your pout, it's your projection to the world, but that is not what you are. What you are is, let's put it this way. If you imagine the Pacific Ocean, it is deep, calm, blue, tranquil, peaceful, right? But as it approaches the land, suddenly there are waves, there are surfs, there are ripples, and those are our individualities. So when we get distracted by, let's say, social media, like the wave gets distracted by the earth, our egos come into play. And like the fly against the window, this wave against the rock thinks that it's going to do everything possible to smash the rock to bits, to sand. But the wave comes, goes. The way to pull back and actually do something about it, something like what hopefully documentaries of this sort and books like you mentioned would do, is pull all the waves back and come back as a tsunami. That would be a change make in the way we structure our systems. But right now, before we structure our systems, an understanding of that's not me. I own it, but it does not own me. My life is not determined by the outcome of the look of my car or the look of my post or the look of my house. My outcome is determined by my ability to keep in equilibrium, for which again there are exercises about measuring your vibrations and learning how to keep yourself in vibrational equanimity. I don't know if I am going overboard, so just let's break this down into smaller bits if necessary, Danish. But was that
So if you could,
something you see can be done? Yeah.
no, that can be done. So if you could, for example, you gave this exercises of building the energy. That's a wonderful exercise, right? People can use it. I think if you're practicing it daily for 5 minutes, also if you can take it out. If you can give a framework that how people can do this thing.
So I would urge you to diary, and in that diary, say 5 things every day. So make it a goal to write down 5 things a day. Things that you can be grateful for. So now you can be grateful for a lot of things, but especially when things go against you, and certainly 3, 4, 5 things will go against you, maybe more. If you set 5 as a target, you will automatically find 5 things that are going against you. When they go against you, what is it that you can be grateful about it? There is the story of this king who cut his thumb when he was sharpening, not sharpening, he was just cleaning his sword. And he had this painfully positive minister who said, "That's wonderful, my lord." And the king threw him out of the kingdom, that you can't be saying that. Long story short, when the king realized that because of a cut in his finger he had been saved from near death, then he called that a blessing in disguise. He called the minister back and realized that he could be really grateful that he was alive today because of that cut. Now, that's what happens when you change your paradigm of thinking from being a victim, that happened to me, my finger got cut, to that happened for me. That I don't know what's good about it, but it's a blessing in disguise. And if I can keep that frame of mind, then I'm always in blessing. I don't have any disguise. I can decide that this was good because my thumb didn't get chopped off. I was, sharpening a sword. The whole thumb could have got chopped off. It is just a cut. I could be grateful. 5 things like that every day of what you can be grateful for. And you will find that if you don't get 25 likes that day on a particular post, you can still be grateful that you were able to make the post. Reduce your expectations. There could be a day when you can't make a post, where your lips are not in a position to pout themselves. It could happen.
Right. So I think this is a good, so 2 exercises which we figured out. So how do you live stress-free in an energy bubble? So Sandeep has given you 2 exercises, a framework to create your own bubble. We are part of the TOSB Conversations. We are halfway. So if you have any questions, please feel to ask. On that note, there's a question from Spriha Sandeep. She's asking, how does one train an overthinking mind? And let me just elaborate on it. Sometimes when you go off to sleep, you wake up So it's fine, right? Because that those thoughts have gone by. But before you go to sleep, multiple thoughts come. And sometimes I know people personally, one thought leads to the other. It's a chain then. It's a atomic bomb which is about to explode. Right. And you're thinking that, okay, will I be able to sleep? Will I be able to get 7 hours of sleep? Now, that's a difficult one. How do you handle that?
It's a beautiful question. And Spriha, it happens to me also. That's the nature of the mind. The mind is a monkey, and a monkey's job is to jump branch to branch. So the whole exercise of training the mind is like training a monkey. Now, how do you train a monkey? You train a monkey by telling it what to do. Make it curious about something. Like if there are these two monkeys with the guy who trains monkeys, usually it's a male monkey and a female monkey, and the male monkey is the naughtier one. And if the male monkey is not told to go in circles around the female on his rope, then he would probably be chewing up the lipstick of the female monkey, right? I don't know if we see these things anymore, but it still happens a lot in rural India, and it's a form of entertainment. But you get what I'm saying. When you tell the monkey, okay, this is what your job is, then it does that very diligently. So when you are talking about an overthinking mind, or when you're talking about an overthinking mind at the time when you want to go to sleep, or any other time for that matter, just sit down calmly and breathe in. Watch the air go in. Okay, tell the mind to watch the air going in. Now it's got a job to do. And feel your belly coming out. Now your belly must come out if you're breathing naturally, because when you breathe in, you fill your lungs fully. If you fill your lungs fully, they press the diaphragm down, and because there's no rib cage in front of the stomach, the abdomen, the belly comes out. If that's not happening, you're just stressed. So know that and make it happen. Okay, so you breathe in and expand the lungs. Normally, when we keep our lungs small, then we don't have any impact on the belly. But the way the babies breathe, they breathe in and the belly comes up, and breathe out, the belly falls, like that. That's natural breathing. So just focus on 3 breaths like this, or 5 breaths. And every time you get a thought, you breathe in and ping. There's a thought about, let's say the plants were not watered, right? Now, the moment that thought comes, you say hello to the thought and goodbye to the thought. It's pretty much like you handle your cell phone. What happens is a dear friend of yours calls while you're typing a mail. The mail is going to take 2 minutes to finish. But if you pick up this phone, then you're going to talk about what to wear in the evening, and it's all about the party and this and that. And it's going to be a 20-minute conversation, who picks up whom and all that sort of stuff. What do? You say, hello, friend. Typing a mail, call you in 2 minutes, bye, friend. Right? Same thing. Your thoughts are not your enemies. Your thoughts are your friends. Acknowledge them with a hello as you breathe in and a goodbye before you breathe out. If you're able to do this, you scored a point. Now you take the second breath in, another thought comes, same hello, goodbye. Trust me, if the thought is important enough, you've told the thought, come back to me after I finish breathing. 2 minutes, I'm going to breathe, right? Or 30 seconds, or whatever. Say 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, when you stop your monkey mind from attending to the breathing, if the thought comes back, it was important enough. If it doesn't, the watering of the plants really didn't matter. It's winter now, they'll survive till morning. Do it in the morning. But if you don't give the mind something to do, it's going to go from the plants to the other stuff that you didn't do, like the utensils are still in the sink, to all the things that you don't do, to the unfulfilled expectations that your mother and your mother-in-law have of you, to how dreadful your life is. And that's my life. I know, I relate to that. So the crack is, get the monkey to focus. That's it. Hellos and
Thanks,
goodbye.
Sandeep. I think Spriha will love that answer. Now, shifting to another one, Rupayan is asking then how do you create a positive work environment when you already are in a negative one? Now, this is a situation which happens with a lot of people. You're good at your job, but your boss doesn't like you, or you're underperforming and you want other people to like you. Now the boss is not happy with you. Now that's again, I understand. So putting it, you're 6 and 9, right? My perspective and your perspective. But positive environment and you're already in a negative one. So how do you answer Rupayan's question?
Great question again, Ryan. Relationship stress is one of the biggest stresses because man is a social animal, and that's a line I came across when I was in maybe social sciences class 5 or something. Man is a social animal, and because we are social, we live in communities, and then we form these organizations and governments and Rotary clubs and resident welfare associations, all sorts of things. And then our egos come into play. Now, understand this, that every time we form an organization, we form it with a certain purpose, right? And when there is, remember in the flip chart, we talked about purpose. When there is a difference in the purpose that one aspect of the organization has and the other aspect of the organization has, there is stress, there is friction. Friction is nothing but stress. Even in our own organization of organs, if the lung doesn't take in as much as the nose gives it, there is a cough. That's stressful. Okay, so that stress is in any organization. And the key is to identify where the misalignment of purpose lies. Now, maybe you're not empowered to go into the depth of where whose purpose is and aligning the job description with the vision mission of the company, and getting all that reporting structure and job function, all that aligned with the purpose of the company. Maybe you're not empowered in that position, but you could start exploring with whoever's empowered on, look, this is stress. Now, this is where the fly is going a meter away. I'm not asking you to binge in Netflix. I'm not asking you to sleep. I'm not asking you to have green tea. I'm not asking you to do stuff that will take you through the onion with a lot of stress of its own, because somebody will tell you green tea is not good for you and all sorts of things. I'm asking you to take a meter on the side and discuss what really is the purpose of this project. A project that's stressing you out because the deadline is stressing you out, let's say, right? And then getting all the people who are working on the project to align with that purpose. Now, if it doesn't happen in the short-term projects, then it will probably be very disappointing. So I've got another crack for you there. What I suggest, you get a personal purpose, something that makes your heart happy, and invest a little time on that personal purpose every day. That will give you back energy, and that energy will help you deal with, you need a little extra energy to deal with the overwhelm of the demands that are coming from the negative environment. So work on the environment, work on your own purpose and your own energy build-up, and you'll find a solution there. Meanwhile, if you want to know more about the purpose, energy, priority, the PEP formula, I do master classes. I'm having one coming up soon. Just sandeepnath.com/masterclass and you'll find it. So you're most welcome. It's free. And we go deeper into this.
Right. Sandeep, the next question from Parul. How does one reduce expectations? Is that a practice too? Is that a practice which you can do, or tell us something on it? Expectations of others.
Brilliant. Yeah. I love this audience. You guys are so participative. Yeah.
Totally okay, so I can just combine, because a nice comment which has come from Maria. She's saying that example of onion is great because the layer projection ideas that is based on consistent. I think it's a good compliment if you can read that. So thank you, Maria, for sending it out. And Parul's question now.
So nice of you.
Talking about, yeah. How do you reduce expectations?
Well, let's understand this one. there is a old prayer which says, give me the strength to accept what I cannot control, the courage to change what I can control, and the wisdom to tell the difference. Often, our stress about expectations is because we are not able to tell the difference between whether whatever is expected is within our control or not. If it is outside our circle of control, then there is nothing that you can do either way by acting on something or not acting on something. And the best is to let it be. Now, where do you let it be? You let it be in the Pacific Ocean. You connected with the ocean. It's got nothing to do with you. Somebody has thrown a log of wood and it's gone above you as a wave. And you're wondering, well, I was supposed to be the wave that catches that log of wood. Doesn't matter. It's not that you could have changed yourself in any which way to be able to catch that log. It's gone in the ocean, and that's where it belongs. One wave is going to take care of it, the one that is built up to meet that expectation or positioned there to meet the expectation. Now, if it's an expectation that you have of yourself, check. Am I creating realistic standards, or am I creating standards that are just stressing me out? Can I reduce my expectations now? Like if I'm a king and I got cut in the finger, can I reduce my expectation of never getting cut to being grateful I didn't get chopped? The tongue is still around. That would then give you that stimulus of energy, which may not solve the dilemma immediately, but will certainly be in the direction of connecting with your external energy bubble, because that external energy bubble is the Pacific Ocean. And the more you get in partnership with it, which is like getting in partnership through Reiki, which is like getting in partnership through Qigong, getting in partnership through pranayama, those are ancient wisdom practices which help us do this. So, but before you do any of the practices, be in cognizance. What is it that you're practicing for? Where does the expectation lie? And build that wisdom to tell the difference. But is that something you can do something about? I hope that helped.
Right. Sandeep, so while you were giving this answer, this thought came, right? A lot of time when we commute, right? So if you're traveling, so you finish your 8 hours of work. I mean, obviously in the pandemic that you're working from home. But before that, and when the vaccine will come out, people will start moving. You spend your 8 hours in the day and 3 hours on the road. Now that those 3 hours later in the evening combined with 1 hour in the morning, when you come back, you don't have the energy. And then that's the time your body physically tells you, my neck is hurting, my shoulder is hurting. How do you uplift yourself and how do you deal with that physical stress which your body has gone through?
Yeah. So the tips that I shared in the past, you will be surprised how effective they are in handling day-to-day stress circumstances like that. You know, if you do this practice of breathing 3 times a day, just to train your mind to see that you can be friendly with your thoughts for 3 straight breaths, chances are you won't get thoughts in those 3 breaths. So go to 5, 6, 7 till you get a thought, and then start building on that meditative muscle, as I would call it. Build on that so that you're able to do, let's say, even 2-3 minutes of just breathing, acknowledging your thoughts. You'll find that when you're doing this, every time you do it, even for 3 breaths, you calm yourself down considerably. It is, if you do it 10 times a day, every hour, it is a total of 5 minutes, 300 seconds, 10 times, 3 breaths each time. But because you've done it over a period of every hour, over a period of the day, you will keep compounding the energy inside you. Likewise, with a ball, you will get that energy fillip. Likewise, with checking off that I have converted something that was against me to something for me by being grateful in advance. That I call it the G to 4 switch. Gratitude, what happens to you, what happens for you. from being a victim to being a victor. So write down those G4 switches in your diary and read them on the metro on the way back. You will feel that I have rejuvenated myself. I have used my day well, because you have invested those pockets of time, a minute here, a half minute there, to replenish your energies. And when you have replenished your energies, when you have acknowledged that you are connected with this energy bubble around you, you will stay energized. You will fuel the inner power. There are other things you could do, and but these three are very powerful. So you could start with them, and maybe you could share my number, or sandeepnath.com has my contact details with all the viewers, so that you can learn more. But start with something, and start with this.
Right. Sandeep, this one is from Shanti. How do we keep motivated in failure? Or could be anything, right? I mean, when you hit rock bottom, you don't know where to go from there. The only way is up. But how do you do that? Now, these are lines which we always see. A WhatsApp forward will come in the morning. Hey, good morning. You've hit rock bottom. Now just go up. Yeah. But easy said than done, right? I mean, you have to do it, but how do you do it? That part is missing. That big that puzzle, that block which you need, we don't have that. Is there a hack for it?
Okay, let me give you two. One, I have to just set the perspective of gratitude once again. You see, we often think that I will be grateful when something happens, right? So if you are going down the tube, and if you feel that this is it, everything has failed for me, you get a feeling that if only something had been better, or if I can just make that 1,000 rupees, I will be so happy. That is like, you are saying that I will be grateful if I am there. But you are here. Once you acknowledge where you are, you've got a hard ground to jump from. Without acknowledging where you are, there is no hard ground. And if there's no hard ground, there is no jump. When you jump a small jump till I make my first 1,000 rupees again, then you've got a hard ground there and you can keep jumping. But if you're not grateful for the fact that, like you said, Danesh, you have a rock bottom. It's a rock bottom. For God's sake, it's not a sponge bottom. Yeah, you can jump. You can get up from here. It could have been a bottomless thing where you have this serious scare of when is this going to end. Well, that's when you program to understand that this is part of a construct. The fly could be very, very troubled all the time when it is going that 1 meter on the side towards the open window panel. It is very troublesome. If there are two flies, one of them is going to tell the other that you are nuts. We can see our destination there and you're going this way. You are completely out of your mind. But you are going in a space where there is no future and you are expending energy. And this is like bottomless. This is a spiral where you are going to, perish. That's the talk that's happening. It could be a self-talk, or it could be a talk between two people, and it often happens between two people. But you reach the connection with your energy bubble, with the outside, and you're connected with the universe. So having that trust is not something that happens over a talk like this, but there are tools to do it. There are exercises, and that's what the Inner Power programs are in fact about. I have a site, innerpowerwithsandeep.com, where we actually go into the depth of how do you get that connection going and how do you live it that way.
Lovely, great. I think, Sandeep, I didn't realize that 1 hour has just gone by talking about things. But there's a nice comment which has come for you. It's from Ramesh that he's known you as an engineer and a management guy. Now I'm listening new definition of energy bill. So Ramesh, I think Sandeep recognizes you. He has a smile on his face which speaks. He remembers you fondly. Okay, so we are at the end of the conversation. So few things which Sandeep during the webinar gave us the hacks. So there are 5 of them, which I've noted down, which you can remember. One is your hand exercise, right? You bring the energy together, and then you take that energy and put it in your navel, and you get that. So it's like an energy drink. You just drink it, a shot of it, you'll get it, right? Your
It's a
breathing
shot.
exercises, yeah. Remember how a baby's breathing, stomach goes up and it goes down. That's a good way to remember it. You're writing a diary, finding 5 things which will work for you, which you're happy about, which is interlinked to your gratitude. So these frameworks will obviously, this is in 1 hour you can only pack in this much. More than that, it's a regular exercise which we have to. That's why Sandeep is Sandeep, because he has practiced it for decades and decades, and that's why we are learning from the best right now. So, Sandeep, on that positive note, and a wonderful morning for all of us from the entire TOSB team. Thank you very much for taking out the time and being with us. So, and
Thanks,
I
Ganesh.
appreciate.
I'd also like to remind viewers about the monkey mind, the overthinking, and just breathing 3 times at a stretch, 10 times a day. That would be very, very calming.
Thank you, and I appreciate and thank you very much, people who have joined in. Be in touch with us. Our presence is there on social media. It's a good thing also. Doesn't mean it has to be negative all the time. So till the time we meet next on another TOSB Conversations, from Sandeep and from myself, thank you very much and have a nice day ahead.
Thank you.